Fasten your chin strap and put your pads on. Get a grip on the bat, here comes a fastball. We ain't going one and done, we're here to last long. This the top of the standards, get ready to blast off. Alright, let's do this. Bang! Bang! Every Sunday afternoon, big sports fanatics coming out your speakers like a piston running with magic. Game time status good to go is automatic. Ready for the blowouts and the instant classics. Calling all the teachers, all the fathers and the mothers. Calling all the kids, all the sisters and the brothers. Dynamic high schoolers in the game like no other preseason. Game 7s, hey, y'all know we got it covered. From the finals to the Super Bowl to the World Series to the Stanley Cup final. Over here we spit it clearly. Andrew Hale and Jotham Israel coming with the hottest topics. Hey, you know what's up with sports. People wanting it, we got it. Yeah, get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Yo, get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Come on. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Yo, get in the game. It's the top of the standards, man. Get in the game. It's the top of the standards. Come on.
Yeah, top of the standards. That's what it's about, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, season 2 is here, baby. Yes, Jotham Israel and Andrew Hale, we're back and better than ever. Yes, we got a ton of sports to talk about, as always. And yes, I can rap. I produced the song, I wrote the lyrics, and I rapped it. That is my voice. Yes, you guys better believe it. But before we get started...
Have you ever wanted to create a podcast? Well, if your answer is yes, then download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started right now. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Here, let me explain. It's free. Yes, free. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many others. Yes, you heard that right. It's that simple to get your voice heard around the world right now. There's also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer to truly make your podcast perfect. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And lastly, get this, you can make money with no minimum listenership. Who doesn't like money? It doesn't get easier than Anchor, so again, head on over to your phone's app store and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Man, oh man, does it feel great to be back? I've been waiting for this for quite some time. I don't even know where to start. It's been so long. So much has happened in these 2 months. I don't know. How are you feeling after this 2-month layoff?
Bro, I came up with a title for this episode before we even jumped on the recording. I called it Nothing But Chaos, because that's exactly what these last 2 months have been. I mean, unprecedented stuff. I mean, Stanley Cup final in July, NBA finals in July. It's like all these sports converging. MLB All-Star Weekend combining with the NBA finals and the Stanley Cup. Whoa, oh my gosh, dude. It was insane.
Yeah, and right now it kind of feels pretty boring because nothing's on anymore. Every single day I would turn on a channel, MLB would be on, NBA would be on, NHL would be on, but now we just have the MLB, some Olympics, but that's all right because I'm excited to talk about what did happen in these 2 months. I say we should start off with the NHL, and I just gotta say, the entire year I was talking so much trash to the Canadians. I was saying they weren't even going to make the playoffs. They do this every year, and they sure proved me wrong.
With an inner coach.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Montreal.
Oh my goodness. I knew I had some feeling in my gut that the Habs would break through, even though we have some different stuff to talk to about the Habs. But that run that they went on was unbelievable. I mean, that was insane. First of all, they robbed us of a perfect bracket. They robbed you of a perfect bracket. I don't understand how this keeps happening to the Toronto Maple Leafs. 5 years into the NHL, I'm starting to catch on some trends. And, oh, my gosh, the Maple Leafs can't get out the first round, can they?
No, and I told you this right after that series happened. Like you just said, what I've noticed watching the NHL all these years, that trends really do continue. And that the Maple Leafs, they proved it. They proved that they still cannot get out of the first round. They proved that they cannot win the series. And it's crazy to think that an original 6 team has the longest Stanley Cup drought. It's crazy. Who would have thought?
They were up 3-1. Dude. I can't imagine. I mean, I would feel a little salty if it was one of those Maple Leafs Bruins things again, but the fact that it was the Canadians, we're talking Toronto versus Montreal, bro. That's what kills me the most. I'm like, bro, Toronto's not going to hear the end of it. They're not going to hear the end of it from Habs fans, bro.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, how can you blow a 3-1 lead to your inter-country rival? And there's only a few teams in Canada, and you blew that lead to a team that's not too far away. That's not going to sit well with Montreal. I mean, Toronto fans and Montreal, they were, you could tell they were hyped. I mean, it's been a while since they've really gone pretty far in the playoffs, and to beat a rival like that, to come back, nothing stings more to a Maple Leafs fan.
Yeah, and I thought they were gonna, just stop right there because I'm like, okay, this is a classic Maple Leaf stuff. I mean, this is what the Maple Leafs do. Then they sweep the Jets. Of course, the series probably would have been different if Mark Scheifele was, playing most of the series, but he ejected himself out of that series with that hit. So it's all fair game. Then I thought for sure it was gonna stop with Vegas. I'm like, look, bro, there's no way they're beating Vegas, right? I mean, this was by far the quote unquote worst playoff team in the field of the 16 teams. And I'm like, there's no way the Canadians are beating the Vegas Golden Knights, bro. And dude, as soon as Marc-Andre Fleury let that puck pass in game 3, bro, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
you have got to freaking kidding me, bro.
You could tell the momentum swung so much after that. The series was essentially over after that happened, because they had to continuously fluctuate their goaltenders. They had to switch them in and out. They didn't know who was better or who was better fit to play in whatever game, and then it just messed up their entire rhythm, messed up their entire momentum, and in my opinion, eventually lost the series. That moment right there.
I'm still salty about it because I mean I did pick Vegas to win the Stanley Cup. I really want to see them win a Stanley Cup. I mean, I know they're just an expansion franchise, so usually you don't have the highest expectations for an expansion franchise within 5 years of its history. But this feels different, bro. This feels different. Vegas, they've been I don't know what it is. Are they starting to build some trends of their own? I mean, ever since they got to the Stanley Cup final, it's been first round exit, blew 3-1 lead to the Sharks. They got ousted by the no, not the Canucks, the Stars last year, and now they lose to the Canadians of all teams. They lost to Carey Price. I'm not even going to, cap Carey Price carried that team to the Stanley Cup final.
Easily. He was outstanding.
I don't know what it is. People say that he is significantly better in the playoffs than he is in the regular season. I don't know how that is the case, but I'm starting to believe it. After that, I believe it. That team was not supposed to go to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, he easily carried them. But back on the Golden Knights, I think they've just ran into some unfortunate events, obviously, in that Sharks series. That questionable penalty call, which again changed the momentum, turned the series around, and eventually caused them to lose, similar to what happened with the Fleury pass. They've just ran into some bad luck, and their first year they ran into the Capitals, who again always blew a lead or would lose in the first round, could never get too far. So it was like it was meant to happen for the Capitals in no other way. But it was a crazy playoffs. He said Carey Price carried, and he sure did. And in the Stanley Cup, he really couldn't do much. I mean, that Lightning team was so explosive, so good offensively, and you don't see that much offense from a really good defensive team. But they were getting production from each line, from both the defense and the defensemen and the wingers. It was very impressive, back-to-back Stanley Cups. But again, Carey Price could do much with all the offensive firepower that Lightning team had.
Yeah, no. Now I will say it was impressive to see how they held the power play down in some situations, but you're not going to contain that Lightning offense for much longer. Now they did lose some key pieces. They did lose a couple of pieces to the expansion draft, but man, that team that team was just freaking stupid built. I mean, I didn't know how they were gonna stop. Now I'm gonna plead guilty. I had them out in the first round.
Yep. I don't believe I did. I think I picked them to beat the Panthers, but I see why you picked the Panthers. The Panthers were very good during the regular season, but again, the interstate rivalry, it just brings something out of the Lightning.
Yeah, my thing is they got out the Central Division. I believe it was the Central Division that they were in. They got it with both Carolina and Florida having home ice.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh geez. And then they ended our season in our crib. And I was like, yeah, there's nothing you can do about that. And then I was like, going into that Islanders game 7, I was like, watch them get 1-0. Watch them get 1-0. Like this is just what Tampa Bay does. They like Andre Vasilevsky does not allow goals
He would
in a
talk about
closeout
Carey
game.
Price. He was almost unstoppable in his own way too. The goalkeeping in this entire playoffs was really impressive to watch.
Yes, very impressive. And I mean, it's obviously become a focal point in the off season already. And last thing I'll say about the Lightning and about the playoffs, Nikita Kucherov in that freaking post game, post celebration press conference when he absolutely took a shot at the Canadians fans. I'm not even gonna lie, that was hilarious, but it also hit me like, dang, he just had to put the dagger in the. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
playoff hockey trash talk is unlike anything else. It's really crazy. But we also had the draft as well. Both drafts, actually, the expansion draft and introducing a new team, and the actual draft that ended yesterday. I'm really interested in seeing what the Kraken can pull off. Can they get to the Stanley Cup their first season?
Oh dear God, they do that, and
You need to stop bringing in expansion teams. It's not fair at this point.
dude, they go to the Stanley Cup final. There is no excuse for the NBA to not bring back the Supersonics.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no more excuses.
I agree. Get Seattle all professional teams. I mean that would be very cool. But I really like the Kraken's their new jerseys. Like those are
Yeah,
clean.
yeah. It's not too complicated. It's not too simple either. Like the stripes are clean. The stripes are clean. They're simple. I mean, they're they just fit.
Yeah, they do. I'm just gonna say I personally I don't think they're gonna get to the Stanley Cup. I don't think they're as loaded as the Golden Knights were, but it will be fun to see. I'm excited to see this entire season play out. The schedule dropped as well. I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously NBC is no longer, going to be the one covering. We got two networks now. We got the ESPN and the TNT experience. Looks like the NHL is following the NBA's path in ESPN and TNT stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm excited, dude. That's gonna be lit. Now, I will say this about the TNT coverage. I do not want the NBA on TNT theme to cross over with the NHL on TNT like the NFL on Fox crossed over with the MLB on Fox for so many years. Now, that theme is so good, it worked. But I do not like the NBA on TNT theme. NHL, create your own theme on TNT. That's all I gotta say.
That's fair enough. Last thing on that for me, I just wish that Gary Thorne and Bill Clement were on the call for ESPN. That would have been so. I would literally be so excited because that was my childhood. Growing up playing all the NHL games, it was always Gary Thorne, Bill Clement, but neither are on the roster for the broadcasting team for ESPN. So, kind of
Yeah,
disappointed in that.
it would have been a stretch. It would have taken a miracle. But you know what? Hockey on ESPN. That
It's gonna be
I'm just
weird.
grateful.
We've never seen it.
No, no, and especially I want to see the modern graphics.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
because you always see the highlights of the old school ones.
Yeah, exciting time for the NHL. I'm already ready for next season, man.
Oh, me too. Me too. It's gonna be coming pretty quick. I heard that they're gonna go back to a regular schedule based on the time period when they're gonna end, when they're gonna start. So back to normal. Hopefully it stays that way.
All right. Speaking of leagues that ended, recently, we got to talk about the NBA. Now, this was probably the first time in my 5 years of paying attention to both the NBA and NHL that I can say that the NBA playoffs was just as exciting, if not more exciting, than the Stanley Cup playoffs. Holy crap, the parity was beautiful.
It was definitely, in my opinion, more exciting than last year. I think we can all be honest about that.
Oh yeah.
We had some crowds. The excitement. There were some crazy moments as well. New teams that we haven't seen really be successful in the league. It was really fun to watch. Crazy series. I hope that maybe we'll get some crazy games coming up in the regular season. Maybe some bad blood carrying over. I'm just so excited for what the NBA has coming next season. But back to the playoffs, insane.
Yeah, I cannot believe that the Suns went on the run that they went on. Now everybody's gonna trash them for blowing the 2-0 lead in the finals, and yeah, they should. I mean, I would be kicking myself if I blew a 2-game lead in the NBA finals, whether it be 2-0 or 3-1. I would be. I don't know how I would feel after blowing 4 games straight. That has to suck. But I'm sorry, bro.
No,
But
no.
the Phoenix Suns, you look at what they've been the past decade. No playoff appearances in a decade. And straight out of a decade-long playoff drought, they go to the finals, bro. They beat LeBron James. Now people are saying the Suns are frauds. They're not a finals team because everybody got hurt. Everybody they played got hurt. And yes, there were some key injuries. LeBron was playing with some high ankle sprain. AD obviously was AD. Jamal Murray, if he was in that series, it definitely would not have been a sweep. Kawhi Leonard, I think the Clippers probably would have won that series if Kawhi was playing, considering that they took him to 6 without him.
Yep.
And we thought Giannis was going to be out for the finals after hyperextending his knee. I don't know how the heck he came out and did what he did in the finals after an injury like that forced him to miss the rest of a series against the Hawks. I don't know how he came back, because I'm watching NBA Finals game 1. I'm like 20 points. I'm like, Giannis is not himself. Then he goes out and drops 40 in a loss. I'm like, okay, this dude is real. And then it was history.
I don't think we've ever seen someone hyperextend their knee, kind of look like an ACL tear, to come back and literally go on a tear like he did in the finals. It was a crazy run by the Bucks as well. They, similar to the Suns, they really haven't had too much playoff success in 50 years. Really, they haven't got to the finals. They haven't won the finals since 1970, I believe. But it was insane. It really was. I think their run was pretty underrated. Personally, I'm not a Bucks fan at all, but you got to respect the run that they went on, the performance that Giannis put on in the finals, insane. Their closeout game, I don't think we've ever seen a performance like that. That was one of the best finals performances in a closeout game, mind you that. It was really impressive what they did. Everyone, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton. I personally thought that Chris Middleton could have been up in the running for Finals MVP if Giannis didn't have that crazy final game. But I was impressed by them. Congrats to them. But I'm excited to see what they have next year. Maybe they'll get some more pieces. And to think that they almost were even better. If that trade went through earlier in the preseason, they could have been better than what they were this season. But who knows? At least they won the NBA Finals for the first time in 50 years.
Yeah, they got their ring. Obviously, everybody is going to come back healthier, stronger, better, and they're going to try to pick up on that blueprint. I mean, it's hard to go back to back in the NBA, but you know what? The Bucks, that run was insane, and to think that in the second round that they were an inch away from having their season, and I still can't. You got to let that sink in. Kevin Durant's foot was 1 inch away from ending their run right then and there. That is insane.
If only he wore size 10. It would have been a 3-pointer.
Oh my gosh, dude, that is insane. Now, people want to talk about the Suns and their lucky ride. Come on. If KD, Kyrie, and James Harden were all together for that whole series, I don't think the Bucks would have won that series. Because even when Kyrie did go down and Harden did miss the start of the series, I mean, they were still this close to losing that series, even with all those injuries and without the bench showing up, which is why I was against trading for James Harden, because that bench got decimated when you needed it the most.
Yeah, and to think that DeMarcus Aldridge retired too. Imagine if he was healthy and he was playing. That would have been insane. They really got some good production from Bruce Brown, though. That trade from the Pistons, he was probably their best bench player, in my opinion. He'd come in, get a bunch of boards. I think maybe in Game 3, he went on a personal 10-0 run to get him back into the game after almost being blown out. So their bench... You're right, it was decimated, but they did have a few shining moments from, maybe some lesser-known players to some fans. But I think that the Nets will be a little bit better if they make the playoffs. If everyone stays healthy, I think next year is their year. It seems like Nets are going to be saying that or they have said that for the last 20 years. Next year, always next year. We're going to be the finals champions next year. Maybe next year will finally be that time.
Maybe. And you know what? I've always wanted to see the Brooklyn Nets win the finals. Great. Since, obviously earlier in the 2010s, they were so bad, like mid 2010s. I remember when I first got in the NBA, they were clowning the Brooklyn Nets all the time. They were like legitimate losers. But now they started to become contenders, and now they're a super team and yada, yada, this and that. But I want to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. What on earth are these cats going to do to get over this hump? Is it time for Ben Simmons to go? I think yes.
I got 2 words. Actually, 3 words. Trust the process. I think that the process may be over for a little bit. It hasn't worked. Bro. You got close, but it isn't coming to fruition.
Oh no, dude, the process is over. It's over. Dude. Look, bro, do you understand how bad that playoff series loss was, bro? Like, the Hawks weren't supposed to do anything after they beat the Knicks. It was supposed to be like they had got the number 1 seed. This was the whole point of the Bucks and the Nets and the Sixers racing for that number 1 seed, so that they don't have to go face 2 of the top 3 teams just to get to the finals. That was the whole purpose, right? Yeah. And that's also what makes the Bucks run more impressive, even if they didn't end up facing the Sixers in the conference finals. But, bro, the Sixers, they blew 3 games at home, and not just 3 random games at home. They blew the 3 most crucial games at home. They lost the first game of the series at home. They lost a game 5, blew a 26-point lead in front of Allen Iverson. That's embarrassing, bro. That is embarrassing. And then you blew game 7. I'm like, yo, this is Philadelphia nightmare right now.
Yeah, I personally think if we can take anything away from these playoffs, it's definitely the expansion of the youth in the NBA. You saw the Hawks come out of nowhere, in my opinion. It seems like all of a sudden in the playoffs, all of their young players turned into absolute shooters. They couldn't miss. Same with the Knicks in the regular season. They did have some veterans on their team carried by Derrick Rose, but again, a lot of youth in that team. Very, very youthful. And then obviously the Suns making that run. Obviously they were helped by CP3, but again, they had a lot of young guys who turned into absolute shooters, absolute superstars. Even Ja Morant, he was able to go to Utah and win game 1. Obviously lost the series, but the fact that he was able to beat the number 1 seed in their place, first game in that series, very, very impressive. There's so many other things I could mention, but the youth really stood out to me. I think this league is in good hands, carried by this generation for sure.
Yes, the future is definitely now. If there's anything that we can take away from this playoffs, the future is now. Donovan Mitchell, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Trae Young, Devin Booker. There are a lot. Giannis,
John
especially.
Morant.
Yeah, John Morant. There are a lot. Luka Doncic.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, let's not forget about Luka
Of course.
Doncic. Even I think he's on the cover of 2K22,
He
if
is.
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Dude went crazy. Now the Mavericks, they are in a position where, okay, this dude's a star. Time to build around him. No more games. We got to get past the first round. Make a deep run at least. But first, let's make it out the first round. There's no more time for games from Dallas. They got to get Luka Doncic past the first round now.
I think they need an upgrade from Kristaps. It's not working.
I thought that was going to be the next super team, man. I was like, if Porzingis is healthy, I don't know, man. But obviously that didn't happen.
The white Eastern Europeans. That's literally what the Mavericks are. There are so many white Europeans on their team, and they're good too. They're good.
Yeah. Now, one last thing before we move on from the NBA. Bro, I want to ask you a question as a Magic fan. Is there any chance that this Thursday that the words with the first pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the Detroit Pistons select Cade Cunningham, point guard, Oklahoma State? Is there any chance that those words are not said this Thursday?
I say the Pistons are going to 100% take Cade. They successful, actually, not successful yet, but they got the first pick, and on Thursday, they will be successful in their fade for Cade. I think you could look back at all of our top of the standings episodes. I probably said it at least 20 times. Fade for Cade. We would go back and forth. You would say, oh, nope, the Magic are going to get him. I was always confident that the Pistons, that this moment would happen. I spoke it into existence. It happened. It happened. I ran around my room when it was announced that the Pistons got the first pick. I manifested this moment that the Pistons are really gonna have Cade Cunningham. I can't wait. I can't wait till Thursday. I've never been able to see a Pistons first pick in the draft. It's been 50 years, I believe. I think I can't even. I think the 70s was the last time they got the first pick. But I do gotta say I feel bad for you because you had the same odds as us, and you dropped really, really low. Now you know the Pistons' pain over these few years, so just wait till maybe 2, 3, 4 years down the line, you'll have the first pick.
Yeah, hopefully I won't have to be in contention for that. Maybe I can pull a gem. And
Yeah.
I don't even. I mean, we have 2 top 10 picks, so I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
man, but
that trade maybe it'll work out in your favor.
we'll trade you the number 5 pick and Cole Anthony for the number 1 pick.
No chance.
I'm
No
just
chance. I think that Troy Weaver would hang up the phone as soon as he heard 5th pick.
Yeah, I don't blame him. That dude. Yeah, that dude's gonna have a lot of leeway and a lot of good things to come for this Detroit Pistons team. I'm excited for them. I'm excited for you. Hopefully, I can finally see one of your teams get good, so I can know how you can trash talk when your team is good. Because I know when Detroit sports teams are good, I haven't seen anything from you yet. I've seen flashes, but I haven't seen anything.
The last team that was really good was 2012 Detroit Tigers when they made the World Series. Since then, nope, nothing. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Cade Cunningham, and it's funny because the Tigers brought Cade into his workout and meetings, team meetings, because they got to interview him. You know, they're gonna pick him, but they got to interview him. He went to Comerica Park to watch the Tigers on Monday. The entire crowd found out where he was, just started saying, "We want Cade, we want Cade." So if this doesn't happen, there's gonna be a riot. I think the city has to riot if we don't pick Cade or if we trade it, which I'm kind of nervous about because I don't know if you've seen the reports, but a lot of people are saying that the Rockets are heavily pursuing Cade Cunningham. No.
Man.
Who are you going to trade?
Victor Oladipo?
Christian Wood back? No. No, we have Jeremy now. Essentially, you'd have to trade Jeremy Grant for Christian Wood. Not going to happen. They play the same position, essentially. Nothing you can give us would be substantial. People are saying Eric Gordon. No one wants Eric Gordon.
No, dude. Look, bro. As bad as the Houston Rockets were, there's nothing on that roster that not John Wall, not Christian Wood, not Oladipo's on the Heat now. Well, we don't even know where his career is going to go from here on out, but there is nothing on the Houston Rockets that can persuade Troy Weaver to pull that trigger.
Like there's no point. Like you get the second pick for, I guess, Jalen Green, who I think is going to be pretty good too. So I think the Rockets should just, maybe pick Jalen Green and just leave us alone.
just settle.
Yeah,
That's
you get
all.
what you get and you don't throw a fit.
Yeah, there's no reason why I shouldn't see Kay Cunningham with a Pistons hat on this Thursday, right? There's no reason. I mean, I don't know what all these reports are about. I don't know why they exist, but the Pistons would definitely be foolish to pass on Kay Cunningham at this point. There's no way.
Agreed.
No.
Agreed.
All right, dude, I got to talk some MLB. First and foremost, I know we both have a habit for keeping our mouths closed when our teams do good and just letting it ride out, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Seattle Mariners. I have to do it. The fact that we are even sniffing playoff contention is I can't believe that we are actually in this position. I saw a comment on YouTube when I watched the A's and M's highlights. That actually sounded satisfying to say. The A's and M's highlights. Somebody said the longer the Mariners are over 500, the longer I'm going to be convinced that the end of the world is coming. I was like, they really aren't used to the Mariners being over 500.
Yeah, I honestly think you could say the same thing for the Tigers going on a 7-game win streak and 4 below 500. Now they're 6. They lost 2 straight to one of the worst teams in baseball. But 7-game win streak for the Tigers. They already surpassed their win total from 2019. Think about that. They had 47 wins the entire 2019 season. They're already over 47. Crazy to think.
The future's bright, man. I mean, I'm looking at the daily scores, and I'm like, the Tigers just keep winning and winning and winning. I'm like, okay, they're really starting to separate themselves from the Twins and the Royals right now. I mean,
yeah, I think we're only 6 back of the Indians now. I think, and unless Cleveland won the past 2 games, then they're only 4. But before the Tigers losing streak 2 games, they were 4 back. So.
Oh, that reminds me, Andrew. I completely forgot until you said Cleveland Indians. So they changed their name to the Guardians.
I kind of like the logo. It reminds me of Angels in the outfield, very retro-like. I do feel like the name, and I don't know if you saw like their secondary logo of the writing of the Guardians, but it's not original. It's not unique. It literally looks like they removed the beginning of Indians and placed it with a GUAR.
Yeah, I knew I wasn't the only one that noticed that. I'm like, that looks like an eerily similar cursive writing.
It's literally the same thing. They just
especially the Ian's part, Dian's part.
Yep. And the second half of the word is Indians, Guardians. Very similar.
Now, the good thing for them is they won't have to do much tearing apart on that Jumbotron.
No.
Because obviously the word Indians is on that Jumbotron.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, dude, that's very interesting. So that's funny. The Cleveland Guardians actually found a way to change their name before the Washington football team did. And their little scandal started before Cleveland's did. Well, I won't say that because Cleveland, the Chief Wahoo thing was 2018 and Washington's just started. Yeah. You get the whole timeline thingy. But yeah, it was a race to the finish line and Cleveland won it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be excited to see how and when they start taking this Guardians name like seriously. Like they start calling them by the Guardians.
I believe it's going to start at the beginning of next year. So we're going to have a new team. It's going to be really weird though to look at that because Cleveland had their name for 100+ years. I think 1915 or 1910 was the last time that they changed it. It's kind of sad to think because they have the longest drought in the MLB, and they were never able to win as the Indians. So I feel like that's kind of unfortunate. They were so close in 2016, and now it's kind of weird to think that they never won as the Indians, but they have the chance to win as the Guardians. No one's going to remember the Indians and kind of the success they had before.
Yeah, dude, they had a couple of chances. I mean, the Marlins walked them off in what, 97, and then they blew a 3-1 lead to the Cubs. I mean, that 2016 World Series was heartbreaking.
Yeah,
I mean,
I felt bad for both sides because the two teams who have the longest droughts are trying to win the World Series.
yeah, and dude, I remember when I was in the middle of Game 7, in the middle of watching Game 7, I was always thinking to myself, okay, however this goes down tonight, or should I say this morning, however this goes down, somebody is going to choke and they are not going to get over it. Either the Cubs are going to say to themselves, we came back from down 3-1, and in Game 7 we had what, a 4-run lead. And then we had a 6-4 lead in the 8th inning. All Aroldis Chapman had to do was close it out, and he gives up a two-run home run to Rajai Davis, a line drive. So at that point, I know Cubs fans were like, "Oh no, here we go again." So that was the Cubs side of, "Oh no, we're gonna choke." The Indians, which actually did happen, they blew a 3-1 lead. How do you blow a 3-1 lead in the World Series like that?
And it's crazy to think that neither team really bounced back. Like the Cubs, they won it, but they should have won the year after because they had almost the same team. They were as good as they were in 2016, but ever since their World Series win, they really haven't been great.
Yeah, no. Lost the NFCS to the Dodgers. Then they lost a wild card to the Rockies.
That's
I
bad.
forgot what happened the other year.
Marlins.
Marlins. There was another thing that happened in between, but I can't.
And now they're about to lose their foundation for that 2016 team. In my opinion, I think that Baez, Rizzo, Bryant, all of those players have a good chance of getting traded to that. That's just crazy. It seems like the Cubs are heading back to the good old days.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely fun while it lasted. I mean, if you're a Cubs fan, you're thinking, I'm glad we got that ring when we got it, because, dude, there was no way this city was going to get over that unless you're a White Sox fan. There's no way this city was going to get over what happened to the Cubs if they would not have came back from down 3-1.
Yeah, and like you said, the city, I think a majority of Cubs fans are just glad they were able to see a World Series once in their life. To think about the generation before, they never got to see that. So I think Cubs fans are fine with the reality that they were able to see a World Series. Maybe they'll get one in a couple years. Who knows? Anything can happen. But I think the fact that they just won it, that's really all that matters.
Yeah, I'm glad, and that leads us into trade deadline stuff. Like there's been some moves made. The Rays definitely a focal point of it. They traded Rich Hill to the Mets, and then they acquired Nelson Cruz. I never thought. Yeah,
such a good pickup.
I didn't know that trading for a 41-year-old would be so good.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that I would say that he was the best bat in the market. The free agent, or not the free agent market, but the trade market for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, as an older player, he still has that pop that a lot of players can't or don't have when they reach his age. And to think that in I believe it was his first at bat, maybe it was his second, but his first hit as a Ray was a home run. So
yeah,
he's already productive. The Rays, they were struggling in the middle of season. Now they're getting back up there. I still think that they have a good chance of making the playoffs, but I think that Cruz pickup very, very important.
Yeah, and I think they are definitely going to make the playoffs. I think the only question is, where are they going to end up? Are they going to play in a wild card game, or are they going to wait for somebody to meet up with them in the ALDS. And right now, I mean, they have the same record as Boston, so they've caught up.
Yeah.
And, I think the Rays are in a really good position to win this division right now, especially with the Yankees slumping. The Blue Jays, I mean, they're trying to get there, but they're just
they don't have as much firepower, which is crazy to say. And it's funny to think that the Rays, they lost a lot of their pitching, but they're still as good as they were last year. It's really weird. But hey, I'm sure the Rays will take it. I wouldn't be mad if they were able to pull it off and win a World Series this year. But either way, that East division is really, really wild. The Yankees, the most interesting thing I heard, I think it was Yankees and Red Sox, Sunday Night Baseball, maybe two last week or the week before. But Buster Olney, he was saying that the Yankees may be looking to trade Aaron Judge if they continue to go down a bad road, which is kind of crazy. Imagine seeing Aaron Judge on a different team. It just sounds weird.
Aaron Judge with no pinstripes, with no Yankee pinstripes. That doesn't sound right, bro, especially after that rookie year that he had with 50-something home runs.
Most home runs as a rookie since probably McGuire. It was one of those, but he definitely broke a few records, and then Pete Alonso broke his record the other year. But yeah, he was on a tear ever since he came into the league. All he does is hit home runs.
Something about New York, something about those New Yorkers, man. Something about those New Yorkers, and especially with Pete Alonso's case. You talk about beasts from the East. Okay, back-to-back home run derby champion, and I won't say he's carrying the Mets right now, because they're obviously, they obviously have some help from I don't even know who. There's so many times that like some random Met comes in to save a game or save the day or come up big in a game and this and that, and they are leading obviously the weakest division in baseball.
Yeah, and by not that much either. I think they should be pulling away, because a lot of the other teams have had a lot of injuries, are not as talented, and yet they're still not. The Mets aren't great in my opinion. They're good, but they aren't great.
No, right now they are on a crash collision course to an NLDS date with the Brewers. They will get smacked if they face the Brewers in the NLDS. You hear me, Drew? They will get smacked. They will get brewed. They will turn into beer that will be sold at Citi Field if they play the Milwaukee Brewers in the NLDS. They are going to get. I can't come up with enough verbs to describe the butt whooping that they would get.
And the Brewers are tough. Yeah, they're tough. And it's funny because they started off well and then they kind of slowed down, but now they're on a tear. It's insane. And personally, I don't think they have as much firepower as some other teams, but they're just as good. It doesn't even matter.
Yeah, the thing is, their freaking pitching staff is nasty.
Yeah, it's one of the best. Probably the best in my opinion.
My goodness. I got to watch more Brewers games, man. They're on Sunday Night Baseball tonight for a very good reason. Very good reason. And my thing is, they got matched up with a White Sox team that came in, pretty hot. They were coming in pretty hot. They're starting to pull away from the Central. If they don't win the Central, then it's right there for them.
Of course, I think everyone expected them to, and then they should, rightfully so. They have the best team.
Yeah, but the Brewers, the White Sox came in, and the Brewers literally just put their offense to a halt in the first two games. I mean, one run in each of those games, and then they get some decent offensive production. Dude, I'm looking at this Brewers team like, yo, they're looking like when they made that run to the NLCS. I'm like, I like this Brewers team now.
I do. I feel like they're sneaky. They're underrated. They really are. Because going to the NL West, that division is so it's unfortunate for the Padres, because I believe I heard a stat that if they were in the AL Central, if they were in the NL Central, if they were in the NL East, they would be first in all of those divisions. They'd
Yes.
be first. And to think that they're in third, behind the Giants, who I, quite frankly, could name 2 players off their team. I don't know how they're so good. And the Dodgers, who, they're always, we knew that they were going to be good. They won the World Series last year. But to think that the Giants are in first place and the Padres are in third place, being the team that they are, I feel bad for the Padres.
Yeah. People are saying, what's the best story in baseball? The San Francisco Giants or the Boston Red Sox? And I just say the Giants, because I mean, look, the Red Sox, they had that one bad year, that one bad.
And that's the only season they didn't have Alex Cora as their manager.
Exactly.
So if they had him last year, they'd be as good.
Yeah, but the Giants, though, like, when's the last time that they were legitimately good? Like
2016, maybe.
Yeah, like when the Cubs beat them in the NLDS. I mean, that's the last time I seen them in the playoffs.
Because they won in 2010, 2012, 2014, the World Series. It was funny. It was every other year. I remember it. I think that was their last one, in 14. But they had a dynasty, and to think that it's kind of coming back, it's weird. And a lot of their pieces that were on that 2014 team are still on the team. Buster Posey, obviously not as good. Brandon Crawford, he was an all-star, and those are the only 2 players I could really name.
That is so weird, bro. I heard that their ace was the guy named Kevin Gossman. I'm like, who is Kevin Gossman?
That's the first time I've ever heard his name.
Like, bro, I'm like, who is on this Giants team that has the best record in baseball? Like, what is this? Like, this is. And then they took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers this past week. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
It will be interesting to see if they will be able to win a playoff series based on the fact that they don't have that much experience in the playoffs. Sure, they have Buster Posey and Brandon Crawford, but I really want to see how they match up against a team like the Dodgers in the playoff. It might be a little bit different.
Yeah. Now, you obviously touched up on the NL West, dude. It's gonna suck for that third place NL West team, whoever it may be, whether it be the Giants, the Dodgers, or the Padres. Because if you were in any other division, you're hosting an NLDS. You're hosting a division series.
I think that almost makes them more dangerous, though.
Yeah.
To be a third place team and to be as good as you are, that's kind of dangerous.
Bro, like, I don't know if you want that team that's third place in the West, but they're so good. I don't know if you want them coming into your crib for a winner go home wild card game, bro.
I would decline on that option. But before we wrap this up, I gotta hear your MVPs. AL, NL. Who you got right now?
Ooh, boy.
It's close. It's really close.
Oh my gosh, dude. My AL MVP has to be Shohei Ohtani.
Agreed.
In my opinion. Because, look, without Mike Trout, he's putting up crazy numbers. Dude, we know the Angels have to, make some production now that they have Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani locked down on the roster. They have to do something in the near future. Have to do something. But Shohei Ohtani is definitely having an MVP season. Leading the league in home runs with 34. Obviously, he was the headliner in the home run derby, even though he got beat by Juan Soto. But Juan Soto was just so good in that.
And the All-Star game. To think that a player in a matter of 24 hours went from competing in the home run derby to pitching and leading off. That's insane.
And winning that game.
Yeah, and no one's ever seen that before. Really, no one has ever seen that before. And it is the most valuable player after all. He is carrying that team. He is the most valuable player. I think if he was on any other team, that team would be really, really good. Obviously, Mike Trout has been out, but he's really, really good. Vlad Guerrero Jr., I think he's also really good, but it's just an unfortunate year to be matched up against Shohei Ohtani because I don't think you can be the guy who can pitch and hit as good as he does.
Yeah. Now, at least Vlad is heading back to Toronto.
Yes.
At least the Blue Jays are heading back to the Rodgers Center. That's a good thing. That's a very good thing. I can't wait to see a Blue Jays game back at Rodgers
The
Center.
crowd's going to be electric for sure.
Oh my gosh, dude! Especially if they get to start, making a run for the playoffs, if they start getting high, because obviously George Springer's starting to, make some highlight plays. And obviously Vlad's doing his thing. Maybe the pitching staff can, come up big in some games. You never know. That Rodgers Center, we've seen some loud moments in that building. So
Jose
you never
Bautista.
know.
But for the NL, I probably got to go with Fernando Tatis. I think until
Agreed.
Ronald Acuna got hurt, it was close. It was really close. Unfortunately, tore his ACL, so I feel like he's out of contention now, obviously. But Fernando Tatis, like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., two young players who are going to be stars in the league. He's just been really, really good. He's kind of carrying the Padres. The Padres are good all around. I don't think anyone's really carrying, but definitely the standout player has been Fernando Tatis Jr. But I definitely got to say he's probably the MVP as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in these last few months here. It's going to be an exciting finish.
Yeah, and one last thing I'll say about it as well is we basically know who's going to the playoffs for the most part.
Yeah.
The only question that, the only two questions that actually three questions. The only three questions I have is who's playing that NL wildcard game out of the West? Who is going to dethrone the Mets from the NL East, if that even happens? And lastly, how is the seeding going to work in the American League? Because obviously all the division leaders are like right there, neck and neck. Boston, Tampa Bay, Chicago, Houston, they're right there neck and neck. So we just got to see who's going to meet in the DS, who's going to match up, who's going to have home field, stuff like that. Those are really the only questions. Yeah. But for the most part, we probably know who's going to go to the playoffs.
I'm excited.
Very. All right, Drew. I've been waiting for this for a long time. Let's get back to our MVPs and our LVPs. Who is your MVP?
I think one of us had to say this. I got to say the Bucks. After struggling to get past the first and second round, they've had some tough defeats. They're finally able to overcome that. They were finally able to beat a tough Phoenix Suns team. Giannis, absolute outstanding closeout game, Game 6. One of the best performances I've seen in a finals game. It was a really impressive run to think that they beat the teams that they did to get there and to finally put it away for the city of Milwaukee. Very, very impressive. Congratulations to the Bucks. You're my MVP.
Yeah, I agree, man. And shortly, I'll say something real quick. We've seen some very heartbreaking playoff series from this team over the past few years. Obviously, when they, really came onto the scene in 2016 against the Raptors, lost in 6 to them the first time, you're thinking, okay, they're starting to get there. Then they took the Celtics to 7 as a 7 seed. You're thinking, okay, the future's bright. Then they're the best team in the East 2 years in a row, but they choke in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Raptors, watch them get a ring, and then they lose to the Heat in the bubble last year to go on the run that they went on. First of all, they swept the Heat, exhaust all those playoff demons, all that trash talk from the Miami Heat fans in one clean sweep. First game, it was close. Other three, just straight butt whooping. Yeah. Then beat the Nets. Nobody thought they could beat the Nets. And they almost lost, yes, but they still won regardless. Then the Hawks, it was like, okay, you better go to the finals. You better get over that hump. You better not lose to this Hawks team, or you're going to have some serious questions on your head.
It was close for a while.
Yeah, I thought it was over when he hyperextended his knee, but then Trae Young, obviously, I think that might have saved him. I mean, who knows? But and then the finals, that run was just special. That run was just special.
Yeah.
Now, my MVP is ESPN. And I'm not talking about, them overall or the people there. Obviously, we've heard some pretty dramatic things going on at the place, filling up some of the gossip, outlets, if you know what I mean. But I give my MVP to ESPN simply because they finally have consistent coverage of all 4 major professional sports. plus the MLS.
Yeah.
I think that is a major W with the I mean, they finally got that last piece on the sports infinity gauntlet.
Yeah, they have everything. They have
Yes.
everything. They really do. And to go off a little bit, they also have any sport you can think of. I think 2 years ago they were able to get the UFC, the biggest MMA corporation, from Fox Sports. So just everything they've done over these past few years is proving why they are worldwide sports capital of the world.
Yep. And they got the blueprint. Now they just need to find the right people. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it looks like a carousel sometimes when you look at it, but you know what? The blueprint is there, the coverage is there. There are so many things. They obviously still have college football under their belts. I mean, ESPN is where it's at. I mean, if you want to watch, the biggest sports events, I mean, it's right there. Plus, ABC gets a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
they got a Super Bowl.
That's crazy. They're gonna have NHL on ABC. That's so weird.
Oh my God. Oh, and then they have MLB on ABC too.
It's weird.
Because I seen that down the road on the national schedule, they got White Sox Cubs on ABC on Sunday Night Baseball. I'm like, yo, that is dope.
it's really impressive what they've done.
Yeah, so my MVP goes to ESPN for just setting the foundation for me to come invade and take over the sportscasting. And okay, I'm off that. But now we go on to our LVPs. Andrew, who is your LVP?
This one was pretty tough. I don't think anyone really stood out as being an LVP, but I gotta say the Lakers. I think it's easy to say that the Lakers were and their fans. I'll say the Lakers and their fans because they were all making excuses saying, oh, the Suns only won because we were hurt. The Suns were also hurt. Chris Paul went out game one, and it wasn't the same for quite some time after. But you have LeBron James, who you're saying is the best player of all time. If he's the best player of all time, he should have won that series. I mean, don't get me wrong. I definitely think he's top 3 easily. I think he's one of the best. But to keep on saying that, oh, he's so good and they don't need AD because come on. If he was, I don't get me wrong. I think maybe 10 years ago it might have been an entirely different story. If he wasn't hurt, it might have been a different story. But even though he was hurt, even though that AD was out, he still probably could have given a better performance in the first round. It's sad, and their fans making excuses saying the Suns' run was, like you said earlier, was a fluke because everyone was hurt. The Lakers, come on. And now they want to get Chris Paul. I think that'd be weird. I don't see Chris Paul leaving the Suns. They might want to get Russell Westbrook as well. They're just stacking up. They're stacking up. They're trying to get every star player ever.
I know, right? Damian Lillard, Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul. It's like, bro, chill out, bro. We just saw a non-super team win the NBA Finals. Can we just stay the course on that for just a little longer? You know what I'm saying? Like we were screaming Lakers Nets before the season even started. Can we not do that again next season? Like, come on, man.
Yeah, just be a little bit more humble, Lakers fans.
Yeah, exactly. And not to mention, last year in the bubble, didn't Damian Lillard injure his hand in the first round? And you lost game 1 to them as a number 1 seed. So obviously the Blazers, it was like that team, they weren't gonna beat the Lakers. That wasn't, a scenario where like if Damian Lillard was healthy, they definitely would have beaten the Lakers. That would have been an absurd comment to say. But dude, the next round they play, Russell Westbrook wasn't really at full strength, and I think they had a couple of injuries around. Obviously, you're dealing with Russell Westbrook's, injuries, and Russell Westbrook's a very explosive player. He's got to be healthy if he's going to be productive. If he's not healthy, then obviously you know him for his explosiveness. If he doesn't have that,
yeah. And it was in the bubble, which was a controlled environment, so it was pretty easy. Not to discredit their championship, they did win after all. They were able to go through some tough teams, but just this year, I think the fact that they were complaining and talking about the Suns and complaining that they lost because they were hurt. Some teams were hurt and they were still able to get past the first round.
Yeah, exactly. And then even though the Denver Nuggets weren't exactly like injury riddled, I mean, come on, they had just come back from down 3-1 twice, back to back playoff series, and they dethroned your biggest rival for you.
Yep.
So, I mean, if the Clippers would have finished them off, I mean, we probably wouldn't have been talking about the Mickey Mouse ring and this and that. Oh, and speaking of that ring, didn't Bam get injured? Didn't Dragic get injured in the finals? Didn't they? Didn't the Heat have these injuries in the finals and stuff like that? And they still took the Lakers to 6. Like, bro, like y'all making excuses for the Sun. Y'all thrashing the Suns, bro. Y'all won a ring practically for the same reason. Injuries happen to the other team. So yeah, dude, I understand your LVP for the Lakers. I'm gonna stick with the NBA and give my LVP to the NBA super teams. You want to know why? Because not only do I not really like super teams and the idea of all these, rumors of this star player from this small market going to this big market team, it's just getting old, man. It's like, bro, like can we just go back to the days where we had one or two superstars on like each team? Can we go back to when we had KG on the Timberwolves or Tracy McGrady on the Rockets, Kobe on the Lakers, you know what I'm saying? Dwayne Wade on the Heat, Dirk on the Mavs.
Ben Wallace.
Shoot, even the Utah Jazz in the 2000s and maybe the early 2010s, they had what, Karolinko and young Darren Williams. They were decent.
I think you could say the 2004 Pistons is your perfect example. No stars.
Perfect.
No stars.
No bias. I mean, that's not even bias. That's just straight facts.
Yeah, no MVPs. It was an impressive run. I think if you want to talk about a team who was able to do it, it was the 2004 Pistons.
Yeah, and even if you build a super team, can you at least home grow it like the San Antonio Spurs? They were a dynasty. They were dominant, but that was a homegrown dynasty.
Very
Tim
true.
Duncan there from the jump. Ginobili there from the jump. Parker there from the jump. I would love to see one of those types of things again instead of just buying, a dynasty. Like it's irritating. It really is. So
Yeah. That
which
makes
is
sense.
why,
Yeah.
and which is why I'm glad the Bucks or the Suns won the finals. I'm glad the Bucks won the finals with Giannis and a bunch of really, really good. I don't know if I want to. If people say Chris Middleton is a star, I'm like, I don't know if he's a star. I mean, he showed up. Let's not get that straight. But a star, I don't know. You place him on a number team and tell him that's your number one guy. I don't know.
I'll say this. I think he's a star, not a superstar.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, right there. But yeah, dude. LVP goes to the super teams. Take that. The Milwaukee Bucks just won the NBA Finals. They beat a super team to do it, by the way. So, yeah. All right, dude. We got some trivia on the loose.
It's been a while. It's been 2 months since I asked this question. But let's see if you got an answer. How many undrafted players have been inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame? Do you know this one?
Dear God. Undrafted players going to the Hall of Fame. It can't be that many. I mean, especially for a league that is as small as the NBA. Undrafted players. I'll go and say 24.
Before Ben
that
Wallace,
sounds like a pretty good.
before Ben Wallace, it was 0. Now it's 1.
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Yeah, that was way high. Okay.
Just a little bit.
I'll change my answer to 10.
1. Ben Wallace.
That was oh my gosh. Yeah, I knew it wouldn't happen, that often.
No.
I didn't think that there would only be one.
Isn't that crazy? When I saw that stat, I was blown away. I was like, that's impressive. That's really impressive to do. Now, I have a feeling that as time goes on, we'll see more due to the fact that there's a lot more technology to see players in smaller schools, overseas, whatnot. I think it's a lot easier to sign undrafted free agents to your team in this modern age. But back then, think about it, you'd actually have to travel to these small schools. You didn't really hear about them, and I think that's why there are so few.
Yeah, wow. That just makes the 2004 Detroit Pistons championship even that much more legendary. The fact that they didn't have any all-stars or any
MVPs.
like just a bunch of guys that just grinded it out.
Yep.
And then an undrafted Hall of Famer.
It's crazy.
That's
Shout out Ben
insane.
Wallace.
Yeah. Now I know why they had him right there when the Pistons won the lottery.
Our good luck charm.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that was just that's what a fat dub for a Pistons fan, man. Oh my gosh. Fat dub. But I'll get on to my trivia question. This one's a little bit more complicated, and this one was inspired by the Tampa Bay Lightning because they won a Stanley Cup last September, and then they did it again this month. That's crazy. They won two championships in less than a calendar year. So I'm gonna ask, how many times have major pro sports teams won two championships within a calendar year in the 2000s?
Based on your little lead up to that question, I'm going to say one, and it was the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's my guess. I don't know how it can be possible any other way. Unless it's like really weird to the fact that an MLB team went back to back, but they won the day before a year hit. Like they won 363 days instead of 4. So they won on 1 year. They won on October 24th or November 1st, and then the year after they won on like October 28th. Maybe that could be a possible loophole. I'm just gonna say 1.
Okay.
Guess.
Yeah, it doesn't really. You're looking at it as like, first of all, you would have to win back-to-back championships. Second of all, you're going to have to do it quicker than you did last year.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't happen very often. Back-to-back is one thing. Back-to-back within a year is another thing. So
Tampa Bay can't stop winning championships. It's annoying. No, it's actually not annoying, but Tampa Bay, come on.
Yeah, I see what you mean. They can't go on a 3-week, can't they?
Imagine.
Oh, geez, I wouldn't like that. But yeah, dude, we talked about a lot today. It was obviously great to be back. A lot of drama, a lot of chaos, a lot of insanity. And even though we didn't really talk about the NFL, I'm still keeping my eyes out. I'm keeping my eyes out for you, Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, Deshaun Watson. Anthony Miller just got traded to the Texans. I mean, there's still just a little bit of NFL transactions going on, to mix in with all this other chaos.
Yeah, whenever we come back, whether that be before the NFL season or next week, whenever that happens, I'm really excited to talk about the Olympics that's going on. We got baseball, got basketball. Right before this episode, the U.S. lost their 24-game win streak. Last time they lost was 2004, so we're off to a good start. That's why you say I got this hat on. Maybe there'll be good luck next week or tomorrow, whenever they play, but, the U.S. basketball is struggling. They didn't even play Jeremy Grant. Sorry, I'm going on a rant here. But whenever we come back, I'm excited to see and talk about what happened. It's definitely going to be wild. And as usual, whenever we come back, will it be the same time, Jotham?
Yeah, you already know, man. The same time next week, tradition continues. Man, it's great to be back. But if you guys enjoyed today's podcast, be sure to give us a like, comment, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Give us a follow on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, The Big Three. And make sure you're, make sure you give us a 5-star rating. Yes, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or whatever listening or streaming device you are using to tune in to Top of the Standings. That's Drew. I'm Jotham. Great to be back. This is episode 37. My goodness, we just keep turning it on as high schoolers. Even though I'm not a high schooler anymore, I just graduated from high school last month. So yeah, but I'm still young and I'm still a Magic fan. He's still a Detroit fan. We in this mug. We'll see you guys next week.